Hello and welcome to 15 Minutes of English for Beginners. My name is Laurie, and in today's episode, we are going to be looking at time sequencers and connectors. Right, so have a look at this little story I've got here. When I left for work, Paul was waiting for me on the corner. When we went to Bill's house, then all three of us went to the pub. The next day, I woke up very late and had a bit of a headache. Right, so which words in there are the time sequencers, right? So which words tell us when and in what order things happen? So we've got when, then, and the next day, right? When I left work, that's putting the time. The time is when I left work, and then the next thing that happens. So we got then, and then the next day as another time, and when in relation to the other things these things happen. Now, if we have the word when in a sentence, we can use it to join two actions together, right? So in our first sentence here, when I left work, that's our first action. We got leaving work. When I left work, Paul was waiting for me, right? So waiting is the other action. So leave work and waiting, right? So when I left work, Paul was waiting for me. When I was waiting for the bus, a bird flew in the window. There you go. Linking two actions together. Okay. The next thing we got is connectors, right? So in today's lesson, we're going to deal with four of them. There are lots more connectors than four, but in today's lesson, we can just look at these four. So she was driving fast because she was in a hurry, right? She was driving fast because she was in a hurry. So because shows a reason. It's quite easy peasy. Now, the confusing thing is that we've also got so. So is kind of the opposite version, right? So she was in a hurry, so she was driving fast, right? So the so shows a consequence. The cause comes first, and then the consequence comes after. With because we put the consequence first and then the cause after, right? She was driving fast because she was in a hurry. The other two that we've got here are for contrast, right? She was very tired, but she couldn't sleep, right? You would expect someone who is very tired to be able to sleep, but she can't. It's not what you would expect. There we go. So there's a contrast. Although is also used for contrast, right? Although she was very tired, she couldn't sleep. We just put it in a different place compared to but, right? But is very simple. You just put it after the main sentence, the main clause, right? She was very tired, but she couldn't sleep. You can't move that but anywhere else. You can't say, but she couldn't sleep. She was very. That doesn't work. She couldn't sleep, but she was very tired. That makes sense, but it's a different meaning. Okay, it just has to go in the middle. Now, although can go at the beginning or in the middle of a sentence, right? So you could say, although she was very tired, she couldn't sleep. Or you could change it around and say, she couldn't sleep, although she was very tired, right? You can move that one. Yeah, okay. Let's have a practice of these time sequencers, right? So we've got a little story here. This is one that I think will work best if you pause the video and take a bit of time to read through them and try to put them in the right order. It is not as simple as it looks. Maybe you don't think it looks simple anyway, but it's not quite so simple, right? So yeah, pause the video and have a go, but I will go through the answers now. So the first part of our story, if you watched our video on the past continuous, you will, of course, remember that we often use the past continuous when we start a story, right? So, last week, I was waiting for the bus. That is going to be the first part of our story. last week I was waiting for the bus, right? Uh, and then the bus arrived. But suddenly a man ran in front of me and got on, right? So last week I was waiting for the bus. The bus arrived, but suddenly a man ran in front of me and got on, right? What happens next? So we've got, I was waiting for the bus arrives, there's a man. Then another man tried to do the same. When I asked the second man what he was doing, he told me he was a policeman. Now, you will remember from our explanation of using when that we can use it to join two actions, right? So this is the same. We've got when I asked, so that's one action, and he told me as another action, right? When I asked the second man what he was doing, he told me that he was a policeman. There we go. So we're joining two actions there together. Okay, he told me he was a policeman. So what happens after he told me he's a policeman? He then explained that he was looking for a thief, and then he got on the bus, right? So he explained, and then he got on the bus. What happens after the policeman gets on the bus? He gets off the bus. A few seconds later, he got off the bus with the thief. There we go. What happens after they get off the bus? After that, a police car came and took the thief away. There we go. And then the last thing that we've got here is the next day, I saw the story on a local news website. There we go. Well done if you got all of those in the correct order. It was a bit tricky, so well done if you got all of them. Okay. The next bit of practice is for the connectors. So for each of these sentences, there is a connector missing. So we've got so, because, but, and although. So again, I would recommend that you pause the video, have a go at writing them out, and I will go through the answers now. So it was very cold. She wasn't wearing a coat. So you would think that if it's very cold, you should wear a coat. So we want one of those contrasting ones. But doesn't work because it's at the beginning. Can't put but in the beginning. So it has to be although. Although it was very cold, she wasn't wearing a coat. Okay, next one. I woke up in the night. There was a noise. Right? The noise made you wake up. Right? The noise is the cause. So if there's a cause, we're going to use because. I woke up in the night because there was a noise. I called him. The next one there. I called him. His phone was turned off. Right? So I tried to call him, but his phone was turned off. Right? The next one there. The garden looked very beautiful. I took a photo. Right? So this one, what is the consequence and what is the cause? The consequence is taking the photo, and the cause is the garden looked very beautiful. So if we've got the cause first and the consequence after, we're going to say, I've put in but. It should be so. The garden looked very beautiful, so I took a photo. One thing on the previous one, I called him but his phone was turned off. You might be asking, why can't I use although? Right? I called him although his phone was turned off. You should use but in this situation because if you use although, it sounds like you know that his phone is turned off, which sounds strange, right? Although his phone was turned off, I tried to call him anyway. It sounds like you know that his phone is turned off even when you're going to call him. There we go. That's maybe a bit more complicated, but there we go. Okay, the next one. The garden looked very beautiful, so I took a photo. Very good. The next one. She's very nice. She doesn't have many friends. So you would think that someone who's very nice should have friends. So this one is going to be although. Although she's very nice, she doesn't have many friends. The next one. There was nothing on TV. I went to bed. So the cause is the TV and the consequence is going to bed. So here we're going to use so. There was nothing on TV, so I went to bed. The team played well, they didn't win, right? Again, we're going to use although, because we're going to put although at the beginning. You could use but if you rearrange the sentence, but because it's at the beginning, it needs to be although. All the cafes were full. It was a public holiday. So the cause is the public holiday. The consequence is the cafes being full. So all the cafes were full because it was a public holiday. She wanted to be a doctor. She failed her exams. Right. If you want to be a doctor, you can't fail all of your exams. So she wanted to be a doctor, but she failed her exams. What a shame. There we go. Okay. The last thing that I've got for you today is not really to do with the connectors and time indicators, but it's with pronunciation. So this is to do with stressed syllables in words, right? So we have got in English so around 80% of two-syllable nouns, adjectives, and adverbs are stressed on the first syllable, right? For example, mother, happy, madly. You should hear that the second syllable there, mother, is just an unstressed syllable, but the stressed syllable is on the mother. Happy, madly, right? It's not madly or happy or mother, right? It's on the first syllable. However, in two-syllable verbs, prepositions, and connectors, it's usually stressed on the second syllable. So we've got arrive, behind, before, right? I've, eind, or, right? Arrive, behind, before. There we go. So have a go. I would recommend, again, pausing the video, having a go yourself. Try and say the words and see where they should go. Are they first syllable or second syllable stressed? And we got all of these words on the right-hand side there. So now I'm going to go through the answers. So the first one there is across. Across. So that is on the second syllable. Across. The next one is after. After is on the a of the first syllable. Along is on the ong of the second syllable. Again is on the second syllable. Although, again, it's on the second syllable. It's one of these connectors. The next one is an adjective. So it's going to go in the first syllable. It's awful. Awful. The next one is a connector, so it's going to go in the second syllable. It's because. Yeah. The next one is a noun, birthday, so it's going to go on the first syllable. Birthday. Some British people even say birthday. I don't know. The next one, evening. It's also on the eve. That's the stressed syllable. Is eve, evening. Now the next one is a bit of a tricky one. So this is a quirk. A strange thing about the English language is that sometimes we can have two types of stress for the same verb, for the same word, depending on if it's a noun or a verb. So an invite, that is a piece of paper where someone gives you an invite to a birthday party, for example. That is the noun, whereas the verb is invite. Right, so invite is the verb. The stress is on the second syllable if it is a verb. This is the same with our next one there. Perfect. I don't know why I've put noun there. It's an adjective. And perfect. Right. Perfect is the verb, and perfect is the adjective there. Right. There we go. So sometimes it depends. How you pronounce it will depend on whether it's a noun or a verb, or an adjective or a verb. The last one there is quickly. Quickly. So that one is an adverb, so it's going to be on the first syllable of quick. Right? Quickly. Okay. I hope you did well with that one. The last thing that I've got here for you is something to practice in the comments. So If you are feeling like you are confident with these things, then please have a go at practicing in the comments and I will give you some feedback. So we've got these sentences here. We fell in love on our first date. 2 months later, dot, dot, dot. That will be for you to finish. I went to bed early last night because blah, blah, blah. The weather was beautiful, so we decided, it was really cold last night, and when I woke up this morning, although we didn't play well in our last match, I was driving along listening to the radio when suddenly, and I've got an answer for this one, which is when suddenly a car pulled out in front of me and I had to slam on the brakes to stop. There we go. I was driving along listening to the radio when suddenly a car pulled out in front of me. Now you will see we got when and we've got two actions. I was driving, a car pulled out. There we go. Good. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. My name is Laurie. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Laurie English. We have a website, precisa-classes.com, if you're interested in having lessons with us. We do individual and group classes. Get in touch. We have an email as well, director@precisa-classes.com. I will see you next time.